Is there something in your past that you hold on to? A memory, a regret, a sorrow that feels too heavy to carry, but impossible to put down? We often believe that by holding on tightly, we are honoring our past, keeping our memories safe. But what if the opposite were true? What if the act of holding on is not preserving the memory, but imprisoning it and ourselves along with it? This is an inspiring story about the surprising lightness that comes from having the courage to finally let go. In a small village that clung to the edge of the sea, where the scent of salt and fishing nets filled the air, lived an old woman named Ilara. She was known by the rhythm of her slow, shuffling steps and by the one object that was never far from her side, a small but heavy antique wooden box. The wood was dark and worn smooth by the constant touch of her hands. It had a heavy iron lock for which no one had ever seen a key. Ilara carried it everywhere. To the market, she would place it on the ground beside her. On her porch, it would sit on the chair next to her. It was a part of her, a physical anchor to a past that kept her from ever truly smiling. The other villagers who knew the story of the great sorrow that had befallen her decades ago simply gave her space. They saw the box not as wood and iron, but as a container for a grief so profound she had decided to carry it for the rest of her days. The village was bustling with preparations for its most cherished tradition, the annual Festival of Drifting Lights. On the evening of the summer solstice, the villagers would gather on the beach. They would write their hopes for the future or the sorrows they wished to release onto thin paper lanterns. As dusk settled, they would light the candles within and set them upon the ocean, creating a floating constellation of hopes and farewells that drifted out to meet the horizon. It was a beautiful act of release, a community-wide lesson in letting go. But every year, Ilara would only watch from the distant dunes, her hands clutching her heavy box, a silent statue against the tide of celebration. This year, however, was different. A new family had moved into the cottage down the lane, and with them came a young boy named Finn, whose curiosity was as wide as the ocean itself. He had not yet learned the village's unspoken rule to leave Ilara to her solitude. One afternoon, he saw her sitting on a bench overlooking the sea, the box on her lap. He walked right up to her. "Is it treasure?" he asked, his eyes bright. Ilara was startled. It had been years since anyone had asked about the box. "No," she said, her voice raspy from disuse. "It's just a box." Finn tilted his head. "It looks heavy," he said simply, before running off to chase a crab scuttling across the sand. His innocent observation lingered in the air, a question she had not asked herself in a very long time. It was heavy. The next day, Finn found her again. This time, he held a half-finished paper lantern. "I'm making my lantern for the festival," he announced proudly. "I'm going to send a wish to my grandfather. Mama says he lives in the stars now." Ilara just nodded, her grip tightening on her box. Finn looked at her burden. "Are you making a lantern for your box?" "No," Ilara replied curtly. "This box is mine to keep." Finn frowned, a look of genuine confusion on his face. "But Mama says the sea is very good at carrying things away. She says you have to let things go so they have a chance to find their way home." Then he skipped away, leaving Ilara alone with his simple yet profound words echoing in her ears. On the evening of the festival, the beach was a breathtaking sight. Hundreds of lanterns glowed like fallen stars, their warm light dancing on the faces of the villagers and on the gentle waves. Ilara stood on her usual spot on the dunes, a lone, dark figure clutching her past. As the first lanterns were being set upon the water, a small light bobbed towards her. It was Finn, holding his finished lantern, its candle flickering bravely against the sea breeze. "It's time," he said, his face illuminated with a soft golden light. He looked at her, then at the box. I'm letting my wish go now, so it has a chance to fly. If you hold on too tight, it can't go anywhere." In that moment, under the light of the child's lantern, Ilara finally saw. The boy's innocent wisdom was a key she never knew she needed. She looked down at the box, at the lock that had been sealed by decades of pain. She wasn't protecting a memory. She was keeping it in a cage. Holding on wasn't an act of love for her past. It was an act of cruelty to her present. The heavy weight wasn't in the box. It was in her refusal to put it down. With a slow, deliberate breath that seemed to come from the very depths of her soul, Ilara walked down the dune and across the sand to the water's edge. The cool waves lapped at her feet. She didn't have a lantern. She didn't need to write anything down. Her actions would be her message. She held the box one last time, pressed her lips to the worn wood in a final, quiet farewell, and gently placed it into the sea. She did not watch it go. She did not need to see the tide carry her burden away. Instead, she turned back towards the shore, her hands empty, her shoulders feeling impossibly light. Across the beach, she saw Finn, who had just released his own lantern. Their eyes met, and for the first time in over 30 years, a genuine, gentle smile graced Ilara's lips. And so Ilara learned that the heaviest burdens are not the ones forced upon us, but the ones we choose to carry. Letting go is not an act of forgetting. It is an act of courage. It is the moment we decide that our future peace is more important than our past pain. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. For more stories that inspire and heal, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, The Storium. Thank you for being with us today. Until our next story, may you find the strength to set your own lantern adrift.